save for the flickering light of a single candle on the desk. A soft breeze whispered through the cracked window, carrying with it the smell of damp earth. The silence was thick and heavy, pressing against the walls like a weight that couldn't be lifted. I sat at the desk, hands trembling, staring at the old journal in front of me. It was covered in dust, its leather binding cracked and worn with age. The edges of the pages were yellowed, fraying at the corners, as if the book itself had been trapped in time. I had come across it in the attic, buried under a pile of forgotten belongings, and something about it had called to me, drawing me in with an eerie sense of familiarity. The journal didn't belong to me, but to someone who lived here long before. Someone whose name had long been forgotten, yet their presence still lingered in the corners of the house, like a shadow that refused to fade. I opened the journal, its pages creaking in protest, as if the book itself didn't want to reveal its secrets. The writing was jagged, hurried, and yet the words were clear. It told the story of a man who had lived alone, isolated in a small house not unlike the one I now sat in. He had been obsessed with the idea of communicating with something beyond the veil, something not of this world. The journal detailed rituals, chants, and symbols, strange markings that I couldn't quite understand, but they filled me with a sense of dread. As I read on, my heart began to race. The man had tried to summon something dark and ancient, something that should never have been disturbed. And from the way he wrote, I could tell that he had succeeded. His entries became more erratic as the days passed, the language twisted and feverish. He spoke of strange sounds at night, scratching at the windows, whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. He wrote of figures lurking in the corners of his vision, their forms just beyond reach, their eyes watching him from the darkness. I turned the page, my fingers trembling, and the next entry made my blood run cold. It's here. I can feel it. It watches me when I sleep. I hear its footsteps, soft and slow, like a predator stalking its prey. I have to finish it. I have to finish the ritual. There's no turning back now. The next few pages were blank, save for a single, unsettling symbol drawn in thick, dark ink. It was a circle with lines cutting through it, intersecting at strange angles, forming a pattern that seemed to shift when I looked at it too long. I paused, my mind racing. The room around me felt colder, the shadows deeper. I could hear my own heartbeat thudding in my chest, the only sound in the silence. And then, as I stared at the symbol, I heard something. A faint scratching, like nails on wood. It came from the direction of the attic stairs. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The sound stopped, only to be replaced by a soft whisper, too quiet to make out the words but close enough to send a chill down my spine. I forced myself to keep reading, my eyes glued to the page as if the words themselves could protect me from whatever was lurking just out of sight. The next entry was even more disturbing. It's not alone. There's more. I can hear them, dozens, hundreds. They whisper to me, telling me what to do. I've seen them now, standing in the doorway, just out of the light. They won't leave. They want something from me. A shiver ran down my spine as I turned the next page, and then, just as I was about to continue, the whispering grew louder. It was unmistakable now, words forming in the dark, just beyond the reach of my understanding. I stood up, my legs weak beneath me, my mind screaming at me to leave, to run, to escape before it was too late. But as I stepped back, the candle flickered, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. And then, I saw it. Figure, standing at the edge of the doorway, its face obscured by darkness. Its outline was blurry, shifting as though it wasn't quite solid. I could feel its eyes on me, boring into my very soul. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand it leave, but my voice caught in my throat. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. It just stood there, watching me. And then, in a voice as cold as death, the figure whispered, "You shouldn't have opened the journal." The words echoed in my mind, and before I could react, the room plunged into darkness. The candle was gone, the journal was gone, and I was left standing alone, in the suffocating silence. The whispering grew louder, surrounding me from all directions, until it was deafening. And then, just as suddenly, it stopped. I opened my eyes, gasping for air, heart pounding in my chest. But I wasn't in the room anymore. I was back in the attic, standing beside the pile of forgotten belongings. The journal was gone, but I could still hear the whispering. It was too late. I had already invited them in.